My name is Priya and this is Walter, and today we'll be reading you Maeve's Wonderful Workshop from Favourite Fairy Stories. Let's read! Everyone knows the fairies are good at everything. They're always neat and tidy with shiny hair and sparkly dresses. They love jewels and glitter. They adore parties and flower arranging, and they're especially good at baking. But Maeve wasn't like other fairies. "Good morning, Maeve," trilled Belle and Poppy merrily as they sprinkled shiny drops of dew onto the delicate hedgerow flowers. "Where are you off to at this time in the morning?" "Hi, Poppy. Hi, Belle," called Maeve, clattering to a stop next to her friends. She landed so hard all the dew bounced off the flowers. "Oops, sorry, I'm so clumsy," she laughed apologetically. The other fairies smiled. This kind of thing was always happening to Maeve. "I was just on the way to my workshop," she said. "I've nearly finished the project I'm working on." "Oh, well, Belle and I are just about to go and do some baking for tonight's fairy ball if you'd like to join us," said Poppy. "Everyone's making something to take along," added Belle in her soft, silvery voice. "You could go to your workshop afterwards." Sure, that sounds lovely," replied Maeve. "I guess I could come along for a bit." So the three friends fluttered off to the kitchens, and before long they're up to their wings in icing sugar and candied sweets. Poppy baked perfect heart-shaped cookies with pretty pink icing. Belle made colourful cupcakes with rainbow glitter and mountains of marshmallows. And Maeve made, well, no one was quite sure what Maeve had made. "Oh dear," groaned Maeve. "I'm no good at baking. I wish I could be more like you two." The other fairies hugged her. "It doesn't matter. We love you just the way you are. And anyway, we've made enough for all of us," they told her. But Maeve just sighed and looked sadly at the mess she'd made. "I'd better go," she said, peeling off her flowery apron. "We'll see you tonight," called Poppy after her. "It's going to be so much fun." Maeve turned and smiled at her friends. "Of course. See you later," she called back. And then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. Later that day, the fairies are getting ready for the ball in Poppy's bedroom. "What do you think Maeve gets up to in that workshop of hers?" wondered Belle as she slipped into her pretty pink ball dress. It had hundreds of sparkling jewels sewn into the skirt and it had taken her days to make. "I can't imagine," said Poppy, fastening the buttons on her shiny silver slippers. "No one's ever been inside. It's a mystery." Just then, there was a knock at the door. The other fairies had arrived. They were whisked away in carriages straight to the grand ballroom, where the fairies stared in awe at magnificent chandeliers, towering flower arrangements, and endless tables laden with delicious treats. "It's spectacular," whispered Poppy, and she squeaked with delight as the band began to play. "Come on, Belle, let's dance." They waltzed and twirled merrily until they became dizzy. "Goodness," laughed Belle, looking around her. "I'm having so much fun. But where's Maeve? I haven't seen her all night." "I think we ought to go and find her," said Poppy. "I expect she's at her workshop. She wouldn't want to miss the ball." The fairies set off, and before long they arrived at a pretty red door with an acorn knocker. They peered through the window, and sure enough, there was Maeve, humming away happily as she worked. She answered the door looking flustered. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed. "I got caught up in my work and completely forgot about the ball. I've just finished. I'll be ready in 2 minutes." And she disappeared behind a curtain. "Wow!" exclaimed Belle as they stepped inside. "It's wonderful in here." "Look!" cried Poppy in wonder. In the centre of the workshop there stood a beautiful wooden sculpture of a magnificent swan. It was twice as tall as the fairies, with elegant wings spread out above their heads. Just then Maeve reappeared, holding a torn ball dress. "I ripped my dress trying to put it on," she said to her friends in a small voice, "and I don't have anything to bring to the party." Maeve sat down in a heap. "I'm a rubbish fairy. Why can't I just be like everybody else?" Poppy and Belle hugged their friend and dried her tears. Did you make this, Maeve?" Belle asked, looking up at the swan. Maeve nodded shyly. "It's nothing really," she sniffed. "Just a hobby." "It's beautiful," said Poppy. "You're so talented." "I have an idea," said Belle excitedly. "You must bring it to the fairy ball. It would be the perfect thing. Oh, please say we can." "I'm not sure," said Maeve uncertainly, but Poppy and Belle insisted. Poppy helped Maeve into her dress and lent her a pretty shawl to cover the rip. Then they set off for the ball. By the time the friends returned to the ballroom with Maeve's creation, the party was in full swing. Fairies bustled to and fro with jugs of frothy lemonade, and the band was playing a jolly tune. What if people think it's silly, worried Maeve, her cheeks flaming red. But Belle and Poppy were having none of it. They marched into the ballroom, pushing the swan ahead of them, and all the fairies turned to stare. A hush fell, and Maeve's cheeks turned brighter than ever. Then the room erupted in excited chatter. Everyone wanted to know who had made the magnificent statue. Maeve was a toast of the fairy ball. As she crept into bed later that night, with her feet sore from all the dancing, Maeve was the happiest fairy alive. The next morning, Maeve had just started work on a new project when there was a knock at her workshop door. That will be Poppy, she thought, come to collect her shawl. When she opened the door, it wasn't Poppy at all. It was a queue of eager-looking fairies. "We've come to learn how to make sculptures," said the first fairy. "Yes, please will you teach us?" added another. "We want to be just like you." "I'd be delighted," said Maeve. She glowed with happiness as she started to teach the excited fairies how to work with wood. She might not be like everyone else, but perhaps she was good at something after all.
Thank you so much for joining me to read tonight. I hope you have a great night, and if you'd like to see my next book, remind Mum and Dad to subscribe. See you next time!